Hey there, gang. What I've got for you guys today was a borderline impossible match for me to win on Wrecker's Yard using what I currently consider to be my favorite clown chasing build. We have our staple coup de grace as well as Zanshin tactics, and this gives you a lot of lethality and momentum from using both of these perks together, with both setting up your bottles as individual tiles and also multiple tiles in the event a survivor tries to chain between them. That's why I really like running these two perks. Next, we'll go with Save the Best for Last. Save the Best for Last, a lot of people think this is one of Clown's best perks, and honestly, I agree. I've never really been a fan of it too much in the past because I felt like micromanaging stacks on a killer that doesn't have a lot of map mobility would be very difficult. If you, with your limited mobility, decide to commit to an area of the map that has the obsession, you're throwing away a lot of Save the Best for Last stacks if you pressure that survivor. And if there is no non-obsession and you want to go try to commit to them in order to save stacks, well, then you're just wasting all of that time because you just don't have the mobility to capitalize on finding a survivor so you can preserve your stacks efficiently. So that is why we've got Discordance. Discordance is actually wonderful. I love Discordance in this build specifically because of Save the Best for Last, because when a generator has Discordance activated on it, this means that you know for a fact a non-obsession is at this generator. Not only is it the generator that is going to be getting probably the singular fastest progression on it at the current moment, but that generator, because it has a non-obsession there, you don't have to worry about there being the obsession and you wasting your time pressuring that generator. Further, it also will reveal to you whether or not the survivor that's the non-obsession has any anti-tunnel perks. So let's say you go and you hook a non-obsession, they get unhooked by the obsession, and shortly after you hook a different non-obsession you were chasing, you see Discordance on that generator near where that other non-obsession survivor was unhooked. That's the value of Discordance. You now go to that generator, you find that non-obsession. They may or not even be healthy, but you know for a fact they're not going to have OTR, they're not going to have Decisive Strike. At best, they'll have Dead Hard, but you play around the Dead Hard, you're able to quickly, down them, put them on the hook. And even other than that, since it is a non-obsession, you're going to have that faster recovery. It does mean that one is going to be able to, in the event of Dead Hard, still probably not face too much difficulty when the survivor attempts to chain between a tile. If there was any flexibility, I would consider maybe if you could play around that less momentum from Zanshin tactics, I would consider running Rapid Brutality in place of it. This would have amazing synergy with Save the Best for Last, not just from when you recover and you start chasing in between tiles, but also the fact that you are maintaining those stacks because of Discordance. So lastly, we have our add-ons. For add-ons, I like to run Garish Makeup Kit and Cigar Box. I was at one point playing around with Cheap Gin Bottle. I think that for singular tiles, this is the best add-on for that. However, you just get so much more distance when you're looking at the full yellow bottle duration using Garish Makeup Kit. And this is prevalent when you're chaining between tiles. And also, if you drop a yellow early and a survivor camps the pallet before dropping it, you don't have to worry about setting up another yellow bottle because you can play off of that extra duration on a singular tile rotation, especially with Coup de Grace to give you that long lunge lethality. So this is basically almost the extent. Oh, but lastly, we have Cigar Box. And Cigar Box, currently with the scratch mark situation, I more use this add-on for accessibility. One could consider running Cheap Gin Bottle alongside Garish Makeup Kit. That would probably be the best alternative. But this does help a lot with singular tiles like the high wall tiles specifically, and that can help to, a good variable degree. I do think it's a very strong choice, but what really does kind of suck about this match in particular because of Cigar Box is that we went against a lobby that has two Distortion players. Distortion against Cigar Box is an extreme hard counter, not just because the way that it does its job, right, at blocking R's, which means that your Cigar Box won't be showing anything with the R reading, but you're also not going to see scratch marks. You're not going to be able to know if you're chasing a survivor at any point and they have that distance and they're around a corner. You don't know if they're still at the tile. You don't know if they've left the tile. You don't have any indicator. And in order to make sure that you're not getting this punishment from Distortion, you have to stop using your yellow bottles. So now Clown is back to half of his kit. It means that he has to work with less unless you're able to get that direct line of sight advantage to get the full value out of the speed boost from your yellows, because you're not going to have any scratch marks to work with. The only way one could get those stacks typically out very early is if they run Gearhead, but that would have to be an alternative maybe for Zanshin Tactics, and it's just a question of, is it worth giving up that momentum for the chance that you come across a Distortion player in order to remove those stacks early. But this team that we went against, not only did they have two Distortion players, they also ended up having very stacked medkits. They were very coordinated in the macro sense. I think we lost almost all of our generators in about maybe just under 6 minutes. And this is without any toolboxes. So it really goes to show how fast generators can fly and why the importance of having fast chases is very significant in the current meta. That's probably why you're going to notice I was a bit frustrated with some of what was taking place in this game when it came to how quickly the generators were flying and the prevalence of distortion, because it meant that even someone with my expertise was going to struggle greatly just to get anything going. And as y'all will see by how many hooks we had before all the generators were completed, this match was, as I said at the beginning, almost nigh impossible. So without further ado, I'm going to switch it over to the gameplay, and I think y'all are going to really find this exciting. Is this Wreckers? I actually wasn't looking. This looks like Wreckers. This is Wreckers. Okay. Wreckers does not have a main building. So when you see, there are 2 maps, I think, in the entire game. Hold on. Distortion, I think. Either Distortion or Strong Pre-Run of Sprimpers. There are 2 maps in the game that do not have main buildings. Wreckers Yard and Rotten Fields. If you see a shack at the middle of the map, that is your call that you're on one of those 2 maps. Also, keep in mind, on these maps, you will have a guaranteed... This is somebody with Distortion, isn't it, man? Oh my gosh. Since this is a very early tag, I do want to get this tag, and we're going to break chase. But, just get that medkit out the way. You will always have basement at shack on this map. If this is multiple survivors with Distortion, we will auto-lose, FYI. Because there will be no recovering from this. And it's looking like we're having that situation. That are just very strong pre-runs. Multiple survivors with Distortion, so we're probably not winning this game just off the bat, I'm telling you right now, because we will not have scratch marks for our chase whatsoever. Not that we necessarily had them to begin with, but yeah. Yeah, that perk is just, you know, one of those perks that just auto shuts down Clown because you can't use your power. Go ahead and just kick this pallet, I guess. Maybe if we're lucky, we'll be able to change targets onto someone else who's vulnerable, but if not, we just have to take the L, gang. You know, you just have to take the L, I guess. We'll maybe go for Meg. I mean, I'm doing okay. I'm doing what I can to kind of just cope with the fact that Clown's a shitty killer nowadays, but I mean, you know. I didn't get my yellow. How lovely. Did I get the pink? No, I overshot the pink. That's a shame. He's going wide through these pinks, but I get caught. We get this now because of the Coup stack. Ace with the nutters. Second gen should be popping extremely soon, FY. That gen should be gone before I even have a chance to contest it if I want to. Current gen speeds, ladies and gentlemen. Just how fast generators normally get completed, we don't have the ability to do anything, so... we don't exactly have a chance, though, to tunnel, because we can't really, like, you know, risk the DS or anything if we literally want any chance at winning. DS just guarantees at best 2k, but probably unlikely. We just have to proxy back. We can't start a chase with anybody else. Remember, half their team does have Distortion, so... We have to get this pallet out the way, I think. Honestly, I mean, I don't think I can otherwise do anything. He slow vaulted it too, unironically. think we can play this. Damn, that sucks. I don't think he makes this one pallet, though. Yep. Now, we could still eat a stun, FYI, because someone could be behind us, we don't know it. We're going to be hitting 2 gens very soon before we start our next chase, very likely. We should be hitting 2 gens if I had a gander. That's partially why I'm reloading FY, is because I don't think we can test the gen completion. Probably somebody with distortion, but we will never know. Is it Meg, maybe? It's Meg. Okay. We save at least our bottle economy, and we'll try to springboard with this. Remember, we do still have 2 stacks of Coup, so that means we are fine with using Coup on a first health state. This forces her back through the pink as well, which is great for us because it slows her down as she's getting her speed boost. Is she comp cornering me? Might be comp cornering at this point. Had to make sure she didn't die hard because everybody's got a 3rd health state nowadays. Yes, I am. I will be doing that very soon. Yeah, we're probably not getting 2 kills even if this match, gang. Too much distortion, average gen speeds, or just go brr. So. Can't afford to kick that FY. Someone could come behind and do the other. Didn't get the cross up like I wanted. Unironically, I will break chase here because I think there's Meg over here. And there you go, gang. Average gen speeds. Average gen speeds. So, we got 3 gens completed. 3 chases, rather. 3 chases, completed chases. Before all of the gens were completed. Really, really nice stuff. Just average gen speeds. This is how fast generators normally get completed. Isn't that cool, gang? Got every survivor now showing up to make sure that I don't get my 1 kill because this is just the average state of DBD. We did kick this pallet, thankfully. And I'm gonna get saboed by Rusty, I think, so we're just gonna go for our other hook. We do have this 1 hook up here. We do thankfully have 7 stacks of Stabiffle. We can go right through their body. I mean. Now we do have basement, but it's not really gonna matter because Thalita's gonna pick up. Unironically, hold on. Probably the greediest call I could be making right now, but we can get at least. We might be able to secure a 2K now. Because I'm not going to be able to pick up ace, I think. I probably could have queued that. We're just going to force her out. We'll get our 2K through Nancy. Actually, no, wait, can he... He might pick himself up, the ace, because he might have Unbreakable if I had a gander. Pretty sure Nancy's going for this gate as well. Is that gate open or closed? She's staying under the pallet. In this case, we're gonna leave her slugged. We're gonna leave her slugged. Hold on. I don't know if he has plot twist. We just need to get him out the gate. Beautiful. This is actually amazing. I built a 3K now. Oh, I gotta hit that. What am I doing? Makeup kit, maybe? Last Q stack acquired. I don't think it makes it out here. Bloodlust at least. Okay, hot damn, what a fucking game. Definitely a match we should not have won, but we literally made the right calls in game that we needed to, so. You know what, I'm not gonna pick her up, I'm just gonna let her get auto-sacrificed. I'm gonna let her get auto-sacrificed. I don't think we ever had a chance to hook her, and I don't know if she has anything that would contest us. So we'll just leave her on the ground. Not crawling for gate? Yeah. Probably why she didn't is because it would have made it a lot easier to catch Ace because he would have been in the dead zone, maybe? I don't know. I think it's a rough call to really say, admittedly. Normally I don't say GG's, but I mean, I do kind of want to say GG's to this team. Oh my. So as I said, this was very difficult to borderline impossible. We only just barely managed to secure 3 hooks before all 5 generators were completed. And a big part about that had to do because of distortion in the early game. We probably wasted a good 90 seconds just trying to find a chase with the survivor that didn't have distortion. Further, the obsession had distortion, so when we found a survivor at first and we got that early hit, that was time that we were not spending ourselves chasing a non-obsession, so if we wanted to consider going for that chase in the down, it would have been a complete waste of time due to us needing to get the stacks of save the best for last. And since we did also choose to break chase, well, that enabled her to get value out of her medkit. She has not only 1 full health state from the medkit charges themselves, but she has a syringe. And this syringe, especially if she's not being actively pressured in chase, she can use this in order to heal herself while she's working on a generator. And one thing we noticed too on that point, when it comes to all of these syringes, we had a lot of discordance procs. I think we had either 3 or 4 over the course of the whole match, with it being under 5 to 6 minutes. And this is because not only were these survivors playing coordinated, but Wrecker's Yard is a rather small map. And even though Wrecker's Yard can have some really strong tiles, which we'll get to in a minute, it is a smaller map compared to some of the other Azeroth maps, such as Azeroth's Resting Place, also even like that was probably really the best example. Even something like, let's say, Groaning Storehouse, I believe that one, or Wretched Shop, excuse me, gang. That one is probably, I would say, bigger in size compared to Wrecker's Yard, and that makes it really easy for survivors to go from generator to generator. If they need help finishing one before I get there because I'm chasing a survivor that's coming in their direction, well, they can do that compared to something like I said, Azeroth's Resting Place with its large size, as well as the generators being split on 2 different ends of it. But back to kind of what I was talking about when it comes to why this matters. So since they have 3 syringes, we hit the Thalita, and not only did I not get save the best for last stacks, she's able to go heal for free. We've still got 3 other teammates working on generators who also have syringes, and that hit basically does nothing. And not only am I not going to have time to get these generators finished, or they're going to have the time to do that, and I can't just go trading blows before that happens, but this means that I have to commit to every chase that I take. which means that when it comes to getting full discordance value, discordance is going to come opportunistically. I have to finish a chase in a way where either I down the survivor or I get easy pressure to where I can go for the discordance. Because if I try to play fully into anything else, well, then I'm just not going to keep up with how easily they can heal themselves. And further going back to what I said about the syringes, even if they don't heal themselves with the charges beforehand, they can say, hey, we have only one generator left. Let's get on it. Let's heal ourselves with the syringes. We'll be healed by the time the generator is completed. Clown's likely not going to be able to do anything about our syringes because if we know he's coming, we can also pre-run from the tile. So there's a whole lot survivors can work with against us on account of these syringes. And this made tunneling out Meg at the beginning all the more important, not only just because she doesn't have a med kit with a syringe, but also you look at her build, if we were to have focused any other survivor while she was in the background, well, they probably would have sabotaged her hooks. They probably would have had someone else come in a body block because as well, they have all of these med kits for the charges. He probably wouldn't have even gotten 3 hooks potentially, gang. And I just find that very coincidental. The only time that we were pressuring anyone else that wasn't Meg, we chased the ace, was when Meg had already been hooked. And so there was nothing she could really do. So it really did definitely work out in our favor when it comes to that. But, we were only able to find the Thalita. We did find the Nancy, but Nancy took us to a strong tile and we didn't have any bottles. And I figured if I tried to reload and play it pre-drop, she's either going to have already left before I intended. I'm going to be down on the bottle economy from that. I figured the best thing we could have done was just hit her and break the chase. But, like going back to what I'm talking about, how bad of a position we're in, we only have one save the best for last stack right now. We hit the Nancy, we've got only one save the best for last stack, and that was kind of where we transitioned to just anybody we can take. And because it was both Nancy and Thalita that have distortion, this means that our only real targets that we have in the match were Meg and Ace. So that was why we flipped between the Meg and the Ace. We weren't even able to down and hook Ace a second time before all 5 generators were completed. And we didn't even have Meg killed at that point. That was how far behind we were. We had only 3 hooks, but they were split between 2 survivors. And this left me having to play fully into save the best for last stacks in order to convert that in-game pressure that actually is what won us the game. Because we were able to down Nancy under the hook once we finally were able to take out Meg in the post-gen phase and carrying her to that kill for the her 3rd hook for the sacrifice, because Nancy went down under that hook trying to body block, and we had the save the best for last stacks to hit Ace go through and hook before she jumped off of our shoulder. That gave us a double slug. We had 1 kill, a double slug at the center of the map with the exit gates open, so they can't really crawl toward those gates. And that was why when I was carrying Ace to the basement, I made that decision in the end game to drop him at the center of the shack. Dropping Ace at center of shack means he's not going to have a good place to, if he recovers, do anything but go toward the gate. And if he decides to stay at the center without recovering from, I can probably pick him up and with a yellow carry him into the basement. So I was hoping that he would do something of that nature, just stay at the center while I went ahead and pressured the Thalita, because if I'm able to do anything with Thalita, I don't have to even sacrifice her. If I can get her out of the trial, which is what we did, making Thalita leave the trial, especially without hitting her, means that we still have 8 stacks of save the best for last. But it also means that if I can keep Ace and Nancy within the trial, that's 3 kills. Because we killed Meg. So we kill Meg. Thalita would only be a 4K. So even if she leaves, we still have the potential of a 3K. Nancy gave us the free slug. We still have 3 stacks of Coup. And that being a big deal, by the way, this is one of the reasons I do play a bit more in the mind of preserving when I can, is because sometimes you do need those stacks. Unless you're going over 5 stacks, there's nothing entirely wrong, I would say, beyond trying to down a survivor before they make it to a pallet when it comes to purposefully not using a Coup stack. Unless you are having with the internal clock sense that a generator is close to completion, it's just really not that necessary. And that is because we had all of those stacks. That was how we were able to play around the Ace, play around the Nancy, and stop both of them from leaving the trial. I was able to down Ace, I believe, not once but twice due to Coup, and Nancy playing around the Ace as well because of Coup. And that that was why, because I needed to keep Nancy down, otherwise she would be able to crawl away or leave. That was why we were able to get the 3 kills through the ace. Because if I had to choose between the two, right? Let's assume I wasn't able to, because of Coup, catch up to either Nancy or ace in time. That would have meant that with both of them injured, I can't chase 2 at once. I have to go for my 2 kill either through Nancy or through the ace, because they likely, I can guarantee if if Thalita's out of the trial and it's just down to Nancy and ace and they're both injured and I hook one of them, the other one's not going to just do anything but leave. They're just going to go through I believe it was 2 open gates at that point, and that's just GG's, right? That's literally just GG's. So we were able to get the 3K because we preserved our stacks, is what I'm getting at. And patience as well, chasing the ace when ace did pick himself back up and I knew that Nancy was at the center. My mindset with dealing with ace was, okay, I need to make sure not only does he not leave efficiently, he doesn't leave the killer shack, but also if he goes back toward Nancy, that I catch up to him in time. So that was why I chose to break the pallet in the manner that I did. If I just walked into it showing my red stain and everything, he would have just split much earlier. He would have probably gotten to Nancy sooner. I probably would not have been able to catch them before they recovered near the pallet. He probably would have picked her up and started going toward a gate, and there would have been too much of a difference in distance between the two for me to have my cake and eat it too down both of them. I would have, like I said, had to go choose for that 2K. And that is why I I broke the palette with the pink in the back, hiding the moon, like the red stain, all that shit. All of that matters, gang. The reason why you see me hiding a red stain so much going around corners, all of that is free distance. And free distance is make or break in Dead by Daylight. Even something as much as half a meter to a meter's extra distance would have literally been that difference in downing Nancy by that pallet. So all of that, just really take everything fully into account. I don't know if anyone noticed, but every single med kit was gone. Every single med kit. So even if they didn't fully heal themselves, which I don't think they did, right? Like get full charges out of all of them, they all used their syringes. And going back to what I said with how quick the generators flew with this being a full med kit team, that was them using those syringes offensively in order to ensure that they could just get that free generator progress, because they are playing against a clown, and clown doesn't have the map mobility to effectively split hits like that against a team that is running 3 syringes. So I think that just about wraps everything up. I hope you guys found this match to be very informative, especially the post game. I just kind of started talking about everything that really came to mind. I really think there was a lot to break down here, especially, like I said, double distortion lobby with some pretty decent, strong pre-runs. And, we didn't even talk too much about the tiles. I'll briefly mention the tiles. The tiles that we had on this iteration of Wrecker's Yard were pretty painful. They had probably the strongest magic school bus in the game, which connected to one of the strongest jungle gyms in the game, the kind of like LT-ish shaped jungle gym. If the survivors do play the check spots kind of right, and they have good game sense of just how you're going to play it and converge, it is damn near borderline impossible. Thankfully, we did actually have Cigar Box in the chase against the ace, who didn't have distortion, and that was what gave us some good hits, because otherwise, without that, it would have, even getting some of those injuries without getting those downs would have been very, very difficult. So there's just a lot to take away from this match. 3 syringes, very painful. 3 medkits, very painful. Survivors who pre-run, especially with distortion, also very painful. But that is, not to fully take away from the build. I do think this build is, at the current moment, one of the strongest for clown in the current meta. Because, like I said, doesn't just have the Coup and the Zanshin for the lethality and the momentum, but you need, in my opinion, discordance and only to get the most out of save the best for last. So if you do want to put something in this build, right, like rapid brutality, then I would say maybe consider getting rid of Zanshin, but I don't think getting rid of discordance or even really Coup would be the right call when it comes to getting the most out of Save the Best for Last, because Save the Best for Last helps you recover. Coup gives you the lethality even with that to down even sooner as they chain between tiles. And, if you're going to put rapid, like I said, that's kind of really, that would be the only other place for it, because if you get rid of discordance, you're going to have problems finding survivors that either A, have or don't have anti-tunnel, but also B, are the non-obsession. I've got more content coming out in the future, so if you're interested in learning how to play clown better, feel free to look at that as well. I also stream live on Twitch during the weekdays, so I'll have a link to my stream. And of course, my clown guide, if you haven't heard about my clown guide, there will be a link to that as well within the YouTube description. But other than that, I'll see y'all next time. Later, gang.